ready to go? Can I clap?
You can clap right now.
Okay. Good morning. Happy Sabbath. It's a good day. I'm hoping that it gets nice and warm today. That's what they say is going to happen. But let's enjoy this Sabbath day. And it's a time to spend with God and with our families and with our church family. Want to let you know our finances are doing pretty good. We're hanging in there financially, and that's a good thing because we have an awful lot of financial responsibility that we need to see to. You guys were praying for Jet Benton. He's our janitor here at the church. He is still in the hospital in ICU and on a ventilator. There has been a little bit of good news. He has improved a little bit, and they've been able to turn the ventilator down. Very, very thankful that Kelly Sand is here. Came in from Argentina a week ago, and it's good to have her back, and she's recovering from surgery. Very, very happy that Richard Maxwell has recovered and is doing well. We have a lot to be thankful for. And we have something coming up that I really like. We are going to conduct an Oceanside week of prayer. And it's going to be coming up the week of August 17 through 21. It's going to be online. There's going to be stuff for little kids and medium-sized kids. There's going to be stuff for young adults. There's going to be things for adults. It's going to be a lot for families. And just be thinking about that. It'll be about half hour, 45 minutes long. We'll put it up in the evenings and around 5 o'clock in the evening. And it's coming up. And so put this down, August 17 through 21, Oceanside Week of Prayer. It's going to be good. I can hardly wait.
Cut.
What a friend we have in Jesus, all our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever breathe, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever breathe, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me to your love to those around me. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me.
Good morning. It's so nice to see you. Put your hands up high. Open, shut them. Open, shut them. Give a little clap. Open, shut them. Open, shut them. Fold them in your lap. Have you ever been shell collecting? Ever found shells on the beach? There are so many beautiful shells. You might find something just simple and plain. But when you start looking at it, you notice that it's got this wonderful shell that might be rough outside, smooth inside, and that seashell was a home for a living animal. When the animal died, its shell was discarded in the ocean and it rolled up onto the beach where you can find it and look at it and admire it. Shells come in all sizes and shapes. Some are very fancy. Can you imagine how the animal that lived in there? Why did it have that shell? Why was the shell made that way? Well, the smallest shell is the size of a period in a book when you're reading a sentence and you come to a stop. It's called a period. That is the smallest shell. The largest is a clamshell, giant clamshell. Over 500 pounds, hold 2 to 3 men, really big. But there are so many shells in between. Some have ridges, some have spikes, some are smooth, some have plates, some are brightly colored. But did you know that each shell has a specific job to do? So if the shell is spiraled and has ridges, it could actually burrow down into the sand, and those ridges help it hold on, so when an enemy comes looking for a nice seashell dinner, it can't get it. If the shell has one opening, like a gastropod, like number 7 on the chart, it has a foot, and that foot can actually come over the outing and be a hard part that the animal can't break into. It can also hold on very tightly to where it lives, like onto a rock. Abalone shells are like that. They have a flatter shell and they hook hard onto the rock, and it's very hard to get them off of the rock. That's the way they have protection. Some shells have bright colors, meaning don't eat me, I don't taste good. Some shells have colors that are the color of the background where they live. And some even have patterns that match the background of where they live. Some of them have those spikes sticking out. Nothing would like to have that in its mouth. That would be not fun to eat. So that helps it. Some have overlapping plates, like number 4 in the picture. That's a chitin. It has 8 overlapping plates. Those plates can move back and forth. So if someone actually does pry it off the rock and gets it in their mouth, they'll roll up like a ball and they'll save themselves. Scientists are actually studying how chitin shells work, because it would make great armor for protecting people who needed to be protected with armor. So each shell has its job to do and has a special plan for the animal inside. Now, there was a shell right in the middle that was thought to be very rare. We now know it's not. It may still be not as plentiful, but it was so rare that collectors bought it. One shell went for over $100,000. Can you imagine that? But then someone found a group of them and they weren't quite as valuable. You can now buy them for about $200. But shell collectors will look around to find the most exquisite, beautiful shells. But all of them have beauty and all of them have a job to do. There's one shell that's it's a gastropod, so it's like a snail shell that burrows itself in the sand, and at night they glow a greenish color. That greenish color scares the other animals away so they won't eat it. That would be kind of handy, wouldn't it, to have a glowing color you could use at night. Now, you may collect shells. There are 70 to 100,000 different species of seashells. It would be fun to collect some. You know, people have collected them for years. The oldest collection that has ever been found was at Pompeii, and they actually found the remains of a seashell collection. That Pompeii was a volcano that erupted many years ago and left remains that we could see and study. People have used shells for years. People use shells for money. Can you imagine that? I'll trade you that salt for my seashell. That's really what people did. People nowadays will use shells crushed up small as fertilizer. We also use shells as chalk. They go in, when they're really, really, really small ones, when they die, they leave their shells and get smushed down, and you can actually dig it up, and that's chalk. We've used them for decorations, mosaics. We've used them for wind chimes. They're also used for musical instruments, whistles, trumpets, all kinds of things. Shells are wonderful. Maybe you'll have a chance to walk on the beach and see a shell and examine it and look up close. Maybe you'll put it to your ear and listen. Sounds like the ocean. It's really the air that's going through it. Shells are so wonderful. I hope you'll get a chance to collect one. And I want you to think about God when he was creating them. Think about each different shape, how he thought about it, what it should look like, whether it should have ridges or not, whether it should be like a scallop shell that could open up this way and take in water and squirt it out fast, and it pushes itself away. They can hop, dart, jump. They can do all kinds of things. Can you imagine the seashell that you think doesn't move at all, moves a lot? Imagine Jesus creating them just for you, just because he likes beauty and he loves you. Imagine the time he put in, effort he put into each one. So delicate, so beautiful. And now think about this. He loves you and cares for you even more. So this week when you're looking around at nature, know how much God loved each thing he created and know that he loves you more. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I would like for you to take out your Bibles and turn to the book of John, chapter 3, and verse 3, chapter 3 and verse 16. So is this text unfamiliar? John 3:16. We've heard it and we know it. But have we heard it so many times that it's gotten old? Says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. I'd like to catch the wonder and the power of this verse. It lies right at the heart of the gospel. And I would like to give you a verbatim that comes from the days when I was working down at Children's Hospital 2 days a week. Tuesday and Thursday, I would be down there all day, and I was I was visiting in hospital rooms, talking to families, talking to kids that were in the hospital there. And I was also a part of a class that was learning how to be a hospital chaplain. And part of the class was writing these verbatims. We would write a word-for-word account of what was said in a hospital room and type the thing up in a formal paper. Usually those papers were, 10, 12 pages long, and they would contain a lot of evaluation of what was said there. And then we would present those in the seminar room in the chaplaincy office. And we'd discuss it, talk it. Other chaplains would critique what was done. So anyway, here goes a verbatim. I was walking through Pod B in the neonatal intensive care unit. That's the cardiac part of neonatal intensive care. A lot of sick babies in there who have heart problems. And as I was going through there, a social worker came up to me and said, you see that crib over there against the wall? There's a little baby there. His name is Ryder. And he has a very severe hypoplastic left heart syndrome. The doctors have operated on him a few days ago, tried very hard to correct, at least partially correct the problem there, and it hasn't gone well. And he's there on ECMO. That's a heart and lung machine. It's doing the work of the heart and the lungs, but they can't get him off of it, and it's not going well, and he's beginning to hemorrhage, and he's not going to survive. And he comes from a very, very nice family. These people have a tree trimming business. They're good, common, hardworking, honest people. And the dad's name is Mark, the mom is Summer. They have a couple older kids. There's Connor, a boy who's about 6 years old, and a girl, Shelby, who's about 8. And these people are devastated. They have been looking forward so much to this little baby being born that for months now they've been getting ready. They've been so excited. And when she said that, it reminded me of my son Matthew. The day we told Matthew that Leah was going to be born, there was such a brightness that came into his face. He just sparkled and he danced around for a good solid minute in joy and ecstasy. And then the social worker was telling me how excited this family had been that this little baby was going to be born. And now this. And they had got the news. And she said, they are coming here in a little bit, and they would like for someone to talk to the children, to Connie and to Shelby, and just to talk to them and to get them ready for this. Later on, when you're finished talking, we're going to go in and say goodbye and turn things off. She said, we've invited a social worker to come over from oncology, a girl named Michelle. She's very, very good at this, and we would like for you to also come and help out in this little session with the kids. And so, 10 minutes later, they paged me, and I stepped into the room there in the social worker's office. There's like a little lobby area with some chairs. And there was soft music that was playing in the background. These social workers, they had something like this, and it's part of the philosophy, part of what happens at Children's Hospital. When there is deep, deep sorrow, they want to somehow soften the loneliness, the emptiness, the devastation, and they have several things that they do, And one of the things is they don't just want this blank silence for people to struggle in. They want something filling in the background, and they've done studies and they know the right kind of music to play. And so I stepped into the room and they had this soft music playing. And here was this family sitting there. And I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, my name is Eddie. I'm a chaplain on this unit. And here I am." And immediately, the father jumped up. He was a huge giant of a man, and so strong and everything. And he came and he shook my hand, and he said to me, "My name is Mark, and I came in second in the Baja 1000 Unlimited class, 250 cc's and above." And I go, "Wow, that is heavy." And he goes, "Yeah, it is." And then the mom introduced herself. She said her name was Summer, and these are the two children that we have. This is Connor, and he's 6 years old. This is Shelby, she's 8. And about that time, the social worker came in from oncology, and she sat down and she began to talk to these kids. She just zeroed in on these children. And she was very, very good. She was personable, and she got them talking, and she got them telling her about the things that were going on in their life, and the friends they had at school, and the kids that lived on the street, and the things that they loved to do. And finally, she stopped and said, do you guys know why you're here?" And they nodded. And she said, "Your little brother Ryder has been very, very sick. His heart isn't working right. And the doctors have tried and tried to fix it, but they haven't been able to." And she said, do you know what that means?" They nodded. Shelby said, "He's going to die." And the social worker said, "Yes, he is. But you will always, always remember him. You will always love him. There will always be a place in your heart for him. But now it's time to say goodbye." And I'm telling you, the music was going on, but there was an emptiness. There was a desolation in that room. And the mom turned to me, and there was tears coming down her cheeks. But she was saying, we're Christians, right? And she looked at me and she said, "We haven't ever gone to church, and we haven't ever read the Bible, and there's a whole lot of things that we've done that aren't right." But she says, we're Christians. Right? And she looked at me and she said, "Are you a Christian? Are you really, really a Christian?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And very quietly, very earnestly, she asked me, "What do you believe?" And I had always been afraid, ever since I started at Children's Hospital, that someone was going to ask me a question and I wouldn't really know what to say. And I was praying for the Holy Spirit in my mind. And finally I said, I believe that there is a great God of love in heaven. And He made everything, and He made this whole world, and He made the people that are in this world, and He made them because He wanted to love them. He wanted to be a father, a good father who would love them like children. And He wanted people, He wanted us to be children who would love their good father back again. That's who He is. He loves. But I said many years ago, many thousands of years ago, people turned away from Him. They wanted to go their own way. They didn't just want to be these kids. They wanted to be something themselves. They wanted to run after ambition and be like gods themselves. And they turned away. And it caused a lot of problems in this world, and it caused a lot of selfishness, a lot of jealousy. It caused wars. It caused death. It caused things. But all the time, God was watching from heaven and longing to bring His children back. And in many ways, they had forgotten Him. They had lost their connection with Him. And I was looking at these two children and I said, so what do you think that God did? They weren't sure. And I said, God sent Jesus to this earth as a little baby. And He grew up and He loved people so much. And He kept telling everybody, I am here to show you what God is like. And He loved children, and they got it. They loved Him back and came crowding in and swarming around Him. He loved moms and dads and parents. He loved the workers out in the field. He loved all the people who worked so hard to make that land work and to provide food for people. And the adults, they loved Him back. They came crowding in around Him. Oh, and they followed Him everywhere and listened to what He had to say about God. And they said in themselves, yes, we've been longing for a God who is like this and who loves us. But there were people who hated Jesus. They were jealous of Him. They were the religious leaders in the temple, and they were doing stuff and they thought they were so important. And they found soldiers and they came and they took Jesus and they put Him to death on the cross. Oh. And the people who loved Jesus so much, they took Jesus, they took His body and they buried it in the tomb. But God was watching from heaven. And He sent a mighty angel down, and that angel came and raised Jesus up from the dead and took Jesus and took Him home to be with God in heaven. And do you know what Jesus is doing right now up in heaven? He is up there preparing a place for each one of us so that we can go and live with God, live with Jesus and be at home with them in heaven. And one day, when the time is just right, Jesus is going to come back to this earth. He will come in the sky. He will come in clouds. You'll go out in the front yard and you will be able to see him coming. And he's coming for me, and he's coming for you. And he is going to take us to live forever with him, with God in heaven. And he will raise up from the dead everybody who has believed in him down through the years. And he is going to take all of us up to be at home with God in heaven. He'll have Ryder, and you guys as a family will be all back together again. And you'll be able to go, you'll be able to sit at the feet of Jesus and look into his face and know his love. That is what is going on right now in heaven. He is getting ready to come take us to be with him. I said, there's a text in the Bible that says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." And that, I turned to the mom, I said, that is what I believe, because there's something in my heart that says, yeah, that's true. That is the real thing. And I'm telling you, there was something in that room. The music was nice. The social worker had been fantastic. But there was something, you could only call it a spark of hope. And the desolation wasn't so bad. The emptiness, the loneliness wasn't so bad. We got up from there, went out into the hallway. There was 40, 50, maybe 60 friends and relatives of the family waiting out there, and we all went in to the bedside, Pod B, neonatal intensive care. The mom had stitched together a little pajama suit with feet. She'd made it in a little hood. We said goodbye to that little boy, but there was hope. There was hope in those children and in that mom and dad. And for us, let's not ever let go of this text. It's wonderful. It has power. It changes lives. So, let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear Father, thank you for the hope that Jesus brings of eternal life. And I pray that you will bless us. And may you come very soon to take us home so that we can see all those dear ones who have passed away. And most of all, so we can see Jesus face to face. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.